Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon. Many thanks everyone for joining our webinar today. We will allow just another minute to make sure all our delegates can join. We have quite a few registrations across the Middle East, so we'll just give another minute and then we will kick off. Thank you. Once again, everyone, welcome. Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon. My name is Yasmin. I'm from Equinix Marketing, and we really welcome you for our webinar today, brought to you with Equinix and Cloud4C. Our speaker panel is Dennis. He's a global solution architect with Equinix. We are also very delighted to welcome Ravi, who is the VP of Technology at Cloud4C. These are super subject matter experts on all things digital transformation and cloud, so you're in good hands. Our topic is Migrate SAP on Azure with Cloud4C on platform Equinix. We are broadcasting on a live On24 webinar platform, and we are all working from home, as you are. We do hope that you are safe and your families are safe. And we appreciate the time that you'll be spending with us today because we know that it's very busy for you and we'll make it very a valuable experience. Just a few housekeeping things before we kick off. You may note that you can see me, but you can't hear me. That's by design. We've actually switched off our cameras so that you get a good webcast experience. And also please note that there is a 20-second delay from when we are speaking or presenting and how you are receiving. And we do hope that things go well. All our internet stuff is working super well. But in case things get a bit choppy, we do apologize in advance for any technical hitches. And I will flag that to all the attendees through the chat. This webinar is being recorded and will be available on demand for you to re-listen or share with your network or your colleagues. Our agenda today will be for the next 30 to 45 minutes, as what you can see here on this slide. We would like to invite you to really engage with us. There's a lot of information we are giving. So there's a couple of poll questions throughout the webinar, and we invite you to answer those and engage. At the end of the webinar, we will run a Q&A with Ravi and Dennis, and they can take more questions, and we can carry on the conversation in case time runs out. And with further ado, I would like to hand over to our first speaker, Dennis. Hi, Dennis.
Thank you, Yasmin. Can you hear me well?
Yes, all good.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you for the introductions, and thanks everybody for joining this call. My name is Dennis Dincic. I'm a global solution architect of Equinix. I'm based in Dubai and supporting our sales team on the technical discussions. I'm working almost 10 years for Equinix, helping customers in their digital transformation journey using our global data center platform. I will go to the next slide. And once again, thanks everybody for joining this webinar. We are going to focus on the global Equinix data center platform for an optimized cloud connectivity solution. So we have many data centers around the globe, more than 210, and we have a lot of cloud access nodes in our facility. And the optimized cloud connectivity solution is there to support hybrid multi-cloud type of architectures. There are many companies looking at cloud. They have a cloud strategy, and they're thinking about how most effectively to connect into cloud as well. And the platform that we have and the amount of data centers that we have and all the cloud providers that sit with us can help you with the connectivity questions towards the different cloud services. Together with our partner Cloud4C, we have successfully worked on projects to enable the cloud-focused strategies that today a lot of our customers have. Having a cloud strategy in place is one thing, but executing it in a successful way with a minimized risk is still experienced as very challenging. So in this webinar, we're going to focus on the cloud connectivity options and the framework Cloud4C is using to de-risk and help customers moving their SAP workloads into Microsoft Azure. And Ravi is going to discuss that after me in more detail. So a little bit about Equinix. Who is Equinix and where do we start? So Equinix is the biggest global carrier-neutral data center provider, operating more than 210 data centers in 56 metros and 26 countries. Approximately 10 years ago when I started with Equinix, we had approximately 70 to 80 data centers. And with organic growth and acquisitions, we now have more than 210 globally, being able to serve the customers and have edge deployments and looking at the global architectural discussions. A metro, as you see it here on the slide, so every dot is a metro, and a metro is a city where we have one or more data centers located in that city. Depending on the market, this could be even up to 10 data centers per city. So looking at the connectivity dense locations, looking at the market itself, how big it is, there obviously are more data centers in those specific markets. It's all about interconnectivity. The data centers themselves are all operated under the same global Equinix operational model, meaning global consistency, high guaranteed SLAs, as you can see on the slide, with more than 6 nines uptime record, and the same Equinix customer experience in every of our data centers globally. We have one global portal, one customer experience, to make it very easy for customers to scale and to deploy in different locations, having that same experience. The data centers themselves provide a wide range of connectivity options to interconnect with network, managed service, and cloud providers. The interconnectivity options play a very crucial role in the digital transformation journey of our customers that are facing challenges with their traditional MPLS networks and are looking for more agile, less expensive, and on-demand network solutions to enable the communication paths between their applications that can run anywhere. They can run in many different environments. It can be on-premise, it can be in private data centers, it can be in public cloud. And therefore, the interconnectivity between those different environments has become very, very crucial. So the carrier neutrality that we have with all the different network providers in our data centers, and we having a global network backbone, really helps you in designing your network architecture to have a good end customer or end user experience. I will move to slide 2. We have a poll with a question: does your organization require a third-party data center? I will give a couple of seconds for you to answer this before I move to the next slide. Thank you very much. So on this slide, the availability of different services in the data center. So we have many different customers and many different verticals, from oil and gas, from finance, from content and digital media. Everybody is located in our data centers to find their partners and the services they need to directly cross-connect into them. So we see a lot of cross-connects happening between entities within our data centers. And we have created that global backbone to make it even easier to interconnect with each other in any of the locations where we have a data center running. The ecosystems are very important. And the start of Equinix really was about ISPs that were looking for a neutral place to interconnect with each other, to pair with each other. And that is how the internet started. More than 90% of the internet traffic flows through our data centers, just to give a little bit of a feeling of how crucial we are as a platform for the internet services. This is also where the peering exchanges started to become successful. So all the internet exchanges, they're all housed within our data centers, and that's why it creates a very network dense locations where you can optimize your global network architecture doing that. The second ecosystem, what we have seen is the content providers that were willing to connect to their eyeball networks with the lowest latency possible. So there, the locations where the ISPs were starting to pair with each other, the content providers were connecting into them to have the most optimal performance for their end user. They were pushing content out over those eyeball networks. And the third one, ecosystem-wise, was the financial ecosystem, where brokers, traders, banking, all these entities were starting to interconnect with each other, where we're not talking about milliseconds, but we are talking about microseconds when you're talking about stock exchange, brokers, and traders. So there, the interconnectivity part became very, very crucial. And the fourth one that we're going to focus on today are the cloud providers. Because of the network density and because of the customer base that we have globally, the cloud providers started to build their compute and to build their cloud access nodes in our facility to make it easier for enterprises to connect into them. Microsoft is one of those cloud providers where we are one of the bigger express route partners to offer cloud connectivity connections to Microsoft customers. So for a multi-cloud and a hybrid cloud experience, the data center can be used to have that private connectivity into the cloud provider. And the digital ecosystem, the last one, is actually an any-to-any connectivity story. So we see enterprises moving away from their old traditional data centers, being in a connectivity dense location and being able to connect to all the services and all the partners that are available within the data centers. And therefore we see a lot of direct cross-connecting between those entities. Okay. I will move to the next slide. This is a quick overview on how our customer base looked like. So as mentioned, we have many different verticals, many different type of customers in our data centers, from network providers, from cloud providers, from content and digital media. Finance is presented. A lot of enterprises moving into data centers and looking at hybrid cloud models. And so the 1,800 networks that are living in our data centers makes it really interesting for enterprises to be there and start thinking about how can I build a more agile, often internet-centric network architecture, looking at SD-WAN. So many different options available when you have a lot of network providers around you. The cloud and IT services, you see more than 2,900 and growing, also looking at data centers to build their infrastructure and start offering cloud services. And we as global solution architects are using those services to build the full stack of services that an enterprise needs. I will be moving to the next slide. So here you can see a quick overview of where those cloud access nodes live. And we as Equinix have almost 50% of the direct connect nodes, the express route nodes in our facility, which makes it very easy to interconnect with different cloud providers and have a multi-hybrid cloud strategy in place. So here today we are focusing on our big partner, Microsoft and Cloud4C, where they can use our platform to create an express route circuit, sometimes in one location and sometimes in multiple locations to build geo-redundancy. And once the network layer is established, then you're starting to talk about, okay, how do I move my workloads into the cloud? That is the story. I will go to this slide that talks about our global network backbone. So being an interconnection platform means that we have many different ways of connecting our customers to cloud type of services. This can be done through a physical cross-connect, which we call a dark fiber connection directly between a customer and a cloud provider that lives in our data center. This can be through the internet exchanges, as mentioned. We have a lot of those internet exchanges in our data centers, and that is mostly used for SaaS types of cloud offerings. And obviously, we have our cloud exchanges globally, which is essentially an any-to-any switching platform that makes it very easy, very on-demand, self-provisioning, where you can create multiple VLANs into the cloud providers that you need, which we call an express route when we're talking about Microsoft. The Cloud Exchange is an any-to-any switching platform, as mentioned, and it allows every Cloud Exchange participant anywhere in the world to connect to any other participant that is connected to the Cloud Exchange elsewhere. It's on-demand self-provisioning, and it interconnects most of our data centers globally. So with this network backbone, you're actually creating a global ecosystem where interconnectivity becomes more important, and we help customers in network transformation projects. Here, a quick overview on how we are represented in the UAE. In the UAE, we have 3 data centers running today. This is an overview of MENA. So in the UAE, we have 1 data center in Abu Dhabi, and we have 2 in Dubai. And this quarter, we are opening a data center in Muscat as well. So very exciting to expand in this region, where obviously interconnectivity is crucial when it comes to having good performance, understanding the peering relationship between the local network providers. So many discussions on how we can optimize that in the region. So Cloud4C is using the cloud connectivity solutions, as explained, to help the customers moving their SAP workloads into the Microsoft Azure environment. And I will now give Ravi the floor to explain the different steps of this process. Feel free to reach out to me anytime to have a more deep dive discussion if you're looking into cloud solutions, if you're looking at cloud connectivity, and I'm there to have the discussion with you and see how we can help you. Ravi, we have one poll, 1 question more, and then I will hand over the mic to Ravi. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Thank you, Dennis. Hello, everyone. This is Ravi Tank from Cloud4C. I am responsible for CSP practice in the Middle East region. My responsibilities are designing a cloud solutions on various cloud platforms. Today, we'll be talking about how to prepare for the SAP journey on Azure. And along with SAP, you may be having other dependent applications which are connected with SAP, right? So we'll be talking about that how to plan for it. So basically, Cloud4C suggests 3-stage migration and deployment roadmap to be built for Azure journey. The first stage is deploy the workload or migrate the workload onto Azure by using the lift and shift methodology or replatforming. Replatforming in case if you are running SAP on Unix systems like AIX, Solaris, or HPUX. Once the workload is stable on Azure, you can look for transforming to the new microservice architecture for some of the business modules like using container services, app services, along with other cloud native services like Azure databases. This I'm talking about for non-SAP workload, which has a dependency on SAP system. The last step would be to adopt the cloud services like Cloud API for the integrations, big data platform, IoT, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and other data and data analytics services like Power BI. This will make your entire application stack cloud native, and it will be loosely coupled, integrated. So in future, you can add or integrate any new business supporting applications onto Azure. Now for the first step, right, let's understand how do we set the journey to Azure. So there are 7 steps you need to define to achieve this. First, start with infrastructure assessment. This assessment should follow the latest cloud adoption framework approach for planning the assessment of various components like network, servers, storage, virtual machines, security tools, backup, recovery, what all you are deployed, along with SAP workload assessment. Why we suggest to do this is to achieve end-to-end technical mapping of all modules and dependencies of SAP and non-SAP workload onto Azure. Not to forget to check the past performance history and the major outages history to ensure that we are doing the right design. I'll deep dive into the cloud adoption framework in next few slides. So for now, let's say once you are done with an assessment, what is the next stage you need to do? You need to prepare the blueprint, migration blueprint, which will talk about the migration strategy, end-to-end, outcome of the migration and the success criteria, SAP components, mapping onto Azure as per the SAP notes and the best practice guidelines, as well as the non-SAP workload mapping, landing zone design on Azure, migration approach and the tools required to migrate, cloud governance strategy, and the last is the innovation bench, how to do the stage 2 and stage 3, which is the cloud native, right? All right, before we move forward, I will run a poll here for 15 seconds to understand if you are planning to migrate the SAP workload onto Azure, okay? So I'll just wait for a couple of seconds and then move on. All right, thank you very much. I'll just move on. Now let me take you through the process and the strategy Cloud4C has adopted, through which we are helping organizations like yours to define the cloud roadmap as per the cloud adoption framework. What we have done is we have created a CAF for the workload assessment, preparing the migration blueprint, doing the actual workload migration, and creating the innovation bench. So there are 3 stages of the cloud adoption framework which we have defined. Stage 1 is planning and strategy. Here what we do is, first we touch on business side, where we identify the stakeholders and understand their cloud vision and the strategy, motive for moving towards the cloud, what are the objectives and outcome they are looking at by migrating towards the cloud, basically the success criteria and future roadmap, and define any justification required for the cloud adoption. This is well documented for creating the blueprint. Post this, we move forward towards the assessment of workload, which is engagement and planning. Here we identify the right tools for doing the infrastructure discovery and the assessment, and then deploy the tools in the environment for discovery of compute, storage, and other components. We majorly focus on application dependencies and mapping. Okay, why we focus more on application dependencies and mapping is because if the dependency fails, right, any dependency of an application fails post migration, the entire migration effort will be wasted, and at times you may have to roll back from cloud back to the on-premise. We also focuses on network discovery, where we understand the current network posture which you have defined by identifying the networking gears configuration, what you have deployed, firewall rules, load balancer configuration, VPN, and other connectivities. From security and compliance perspective, we do detailed study of all the tools deployed and configuration level of the tools to understand the security posture. Last but not least, we do the study on business continuity. Here, we do the backup policy assessment. We look at the disaster recovery configuration, like how is your RTO, RPO is set up. And this is mainly from a ITDR standpoint. So we also do a detailed study of your CP planning, business continuity planning, and figure out what type of RPO, RTOs are required by each modules or by each application. Right? And we also do a detailed analysis of past trouble tickets for understanding the outages and performance issues. Right? So once we have this, right, we move to the second stage of Cloud4C framework, which is nothing but a creation of the blueprint. So now what blueprint will have? Blueprint will have gap analysis, if any identified, like operating system version or like any module dependencies of any other non-SAP applications, so and so. Then it will have as is environment details and the to be landscape. To be is the Azure, and this is as per the for the SAP. It is as per the SAP notes and the SAP best practices defined by SAP and Microsoft. Then there is a migration approach, which is broadly lift and shift, redeployment in case if we are upgrading to the newer version of SAP, right, or redeployment of any modules, or could be the hybrid ECC and HANA kind of a thing. Then we look at the replatforming in case if we are migrating from non-Intel platform like AIX, for an example, right. We majorly focuses on cloud landing zone readiness. Okay, so detailed cloud landing zone design is prepared. This is a very important aspect of any cloud migration. If your landing zone is not done right, your cloud governance will fail. Okay, so the cloud landing zone is very important. So whenever you are designing the migration blueprint and planning to migrate, you need to have a right cloud landing zone, right from the network, security, compute, storage, continuity perspective, right? Last, what we define in the blueprint is project plan, timelines, effort and estimates required, right? Along with this, we also prepare the TCO comparison from on-premise to Azure. Okay, so what would be your cost if you run the same solution on-premise, and what would be the cost if you migrate to Azure? Right? So this is an apple-to-apple comparison which is given. The last stage of Cloud4C framework, the stage 3 is migrate, govern, and innovate. So here, what we do is once the workload is migrated as per the approved blueprint, right, with the lift and shift approach or any other approach which was defined in a blueprint, right, we look at the cloud governance part. Okay, so here what we basically look at in a governance part is, it's a governance check is what we do, is mainly the business continuity, the cost which is incurring, the security checks, resource consistency, because it should be as per the design, and if there are any gap identified, right, we bridge those gaps. And the last is innovation. So once you are migrated to cloud, your governance check is run, you are all good, you can look for the innovation. So here you can adopt for few of the applications or implement a new business supporting modules required onto the next generation platform like containers or app services, right? In case if any other application is migrated along with SAP, and if we find any possibility to convert the application database from a commercial database. So for example, if you are having a non-SAP application and it is running an Oracle database, and during the assessment, if we figure out that, okay, this Oracle database can be converted into Azure PaaS database, the open source database, which is MySQL, PostgreSQL, right? Mostly Oracle is converted into PostgreSQL. So we put a plan, and during the innovation, we help organization to migrate from Oracle, which is a commercial database, onto the Azure PaaS database. It has its own benefit. You straight away save like around 22% on your Oracle cost year on year for the maintenance and support. However, it should support. Okay. Then there are lots of other potential which you find, like automations. You can do the DevOps, security ops. Right? These are the things which you can do to automate more and more once you are moved onto the cloud. Okay, so now let me just give you the glimpse of Cloud4C SAP workload assessment program which we have designed as per the Cloud4C framework, and it's a 5 days workshop and assessment program where we do the complete infrastructure assessment along with the detailed SAP application discovery and assessment. And the outcome of this is you get a complete roadmap towards the cloud, which is a cloud migration blueprint for SAP workload and other dependent workload, along with the TCO analysis. Okay. What I will do is we'll run one small poll over here, which is about what kind of SAP are you running on-premise, okay? And then we'll move on. So I'll just pause here for, say, 10 seconds. All right, thank you very much. Let's move on. So now let me quickly take you through the data localization solution Cloud4C has recently built the framework for. Okay, if you notice, most of the government is coming up with local data law and enforcing it slowly, where data localization is key. If your organization is doing business across the globe in many countries, let's say, imagine the effort of work you would have to do to ensure you comply with each and every country regulations from a data localization standpoint, right? So broadly, here what we do is identify the data source and the data type. This we go above the application layer, basically the business function layers and at the enterprise layer. And then we put our understanding from local regulator on data localization requirement as per the business function and the industries belong to. Okay. Then we define the deployment architecture. So here is a sample architecture for the fintech. Today, fintech or financial vertical has got very stringent compliance rules to follow when it comes to the data localization. So here what you see is the entire application is microservice application. It's based on a microservice architecture. We have identified the tools to have done the right operating procedure mapping as per the REST tech compliances for building the secure landing zones and the technology stack, basically. Right? The key element here is the subjective logic. What is this? So let's understand. Subjective logic is something where you use the intelligence of the cloud platform like artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data platform, and other cloud native tools, right, to build the intelligence. And you on the fly insert the intelligence or the decision making parameter into the application by deploying some bespoke application integrating with the any applications. Okay, so there is a mediator like bespoke, and then you can insert it. So what it will do, I'll just give an example. Let's say any UAE citizens, when they access their online banking, when they are in country, they are authorized to download their statements, they are authorized to print the statements, right? But let's say when they go out of country, say somewhere in New York, right, or in the United States somewhere, and they try to access the banking solution, which they used to access from the home country, the same online banking, right? When they do that, right, they may not get the ability to download the statement or print the statement. And some of the functionality would be disabled for them, right? Because from a data localization standpoint, right? So this type of logic can be built on top of your applications which are running on Azure, right? The reason I'm bringing this up is in future, you will need to define your cloud platform as per the data localization policy, and you have to comply with it. We are planning to run a separate session on this topic soon, and we'll let you know in detail. So let's focus back onto the SAP. Right? So now quickly overview on Cloud4C SAP capability. Cloud4C is the leader in the market today. We are one of the global premium supplier for HANA Enterprise Cloud. This we are delivering it with SAP, and today we are delivering the HEC, which is built on a Cloud4C platform in 25 countries and on Azure. We are also supporting other public cloud platform for the SAP workload. Today we have more than 550 plus SAP customers we are supporting. We are managing around 6,000 plus SAP SIDs with around 1,000 plus SAP production workloads, and put together around 2 petabyte of HANA database is what we are managing. Here is the list of other managed service portfolio. So along with an SAP, we also support the third-party managed services, the third-party or the extended portfolio. You can call it as extended portfolio, which is nothing but the third-party applications, all right, or the integrations with an SAP. There are more than 40 plus is what we are supporting. So at high level, today, Cloud4C offers SAP application managed services, SAP migration services, which is based on a cloud adoption framework, the disaster recovery services for SAP or any other workload, SAP HANA Enterprise Cloud. This HANA Enterprise Cloud is with SAP. So here, this is the end. Before we start with the Q&A, there is a last poll which we have. So I'll just open this poll here for you. Once we are done with this, we can start with the Q&A. So the last poll talks about, would you like Cloud4C to help with a detailed SAP assessment for building the migration blueprint and the TCO exercise. So if you're interested, please select yes. If you're not decided, you may select not decided. If no, you can select no. All right. I'll just wait for 10 seconds and then we'll open up for the Q&A. All right, guys, thank you very much. I'm just, we are now opening up for the Q&A. Jasmine, floor is back to you. Let us know if there are any questions, if there's anything which we can help with.
Sure. Thank you, Ravi. Thank you, Dennis. A very good job. A lot of content to get through. So there was a question for maybe one question we have for Dennis from Saudi Arabia. There are, the delegate is asking, do you have a data center in Saudi Arabia? Dennis, can you comment?
Yeah, I can definitely. We don't have a data center in Saudi Arabia yet. But we understand it's a very important market for us in MENA, so we are definitely looking at it. We have, though, in Dubai, carriers that can reach Saudi Arabia from our Dubai data center. So when it comes to connectivity, we can reach Saudi Arabia pretty well, but we have nothing, we have no data center yet as of today in Saudi Arabia.
Great. The next question is for Ravi. Ravi, we have a delegate asking that you talked about the assessment and TCO exercise. How long does that typically take if they engage Cloud4C? What does that look like? Sure. Is it months, weeks?
No, so the engagement and the TCO building exercise, if you have the SAP and want to do the complete workload assessment along with the SAP and non-SAP workload, right? We have this program, which we call it the 5 days assessment. So it's like, now it depends, it's 5 days and plus a couple of days for us to build the TCO, right? So it's like almost like you can say it's a 2 to 3 weeks of job here. It's not months. We get this done in a week's time, basically. And once the assessment is done, right, in this assessment, you get a migration timeline. And that's the timeline, which is the actual timeline you can consider for your migrating the workload.
Great. No, that's great. And I have seen the Cloud4C team in action, and they really do a great job. So that's fantastic. Ravi, we have another question for you. I'm going to say it to you, but maybe I don't get the question right fully. It's from a delegate that talks about SAP HANA and any, the urgency of the migration. I don't really quite understand, but if you can comment on, if we are migrating workloads and if there is urgency, what is the best 1, 2, or 3 tips for that?
So what I've understood is, let's say they don't want to migrate the workload, but it's a greenfield deployment onto Azure. If it is a greenfield deployment onto Azure, we can get you the right landing zone design and the creation of the landing zone, along with doing the basic SAP workload deployment by building the right virtual instances in a couple of days. We can do it in, say, if it is just a few HANA systems, we can do it in a week's time. And why we do this in week's time is because most of the infrastructure services, right, what we have done is we have created infrastructure as a code. So everything is scripted. It's just a matter of selecting the right size and executing it. So it's done very fast.
Great.
I hope I've answered the question, if it is a question.
No, very, very good. I think that was the sort of ask. A question for Dennis has come around. He talked about connectivity to the cloud. And the question is, how important is that in digital transformation? Dennis?
Cloud connectivity is crucial because today every enterprise has a cloud strategy, right? And how they are willing to move to cloud, how they're pushing their workloads into cloud. Here in the MENA, I see that the less business critical workloads are already put into the cloud. It's Microsoft or AWS in Bahrain. But the connectivity part in understanding how to connect to the cloud is quite important as well, and often not being seen as a crucial part of the whole transformation. I think you can connect over the internet, so why should I use ExpressRoute or why should I use Direct Connect? But there are definitely benefits in terms of reliable connections, secure connections, and pricing often is a reason why to look at those private connectivity options. And we have network transformation workshops where cloud connectivity is part of the discussion. So where do you pop your network hubs? How do you connect to cloud? And how do you build those hybrid setups? So connectivity, to my opinion, is the foundation of everything that runs on top of it. If your connectivity doesn't perform well, you can build villas on top of it, but it will just not sustain. So to my opinion, cloud connectivity is a crucial discussion.
Great, thank you, Dennis. So we've got a few minutes left. I've just got one final question that's come in. Maybe you both can take it with your perspective. So the question is a bit vague. It's about, given the current pandemic and the stress on, IT systems, workloads, what would be the good things to be looking at, just sort of, thinking about. So Ravi, anything from Cloud4C? High level on that? It's a very open question.
Yeah, sure. See, currently, I mean, in this pandemic, what we have done is, what we have seen, the trend is that most of the organizations, people are working from home, right? And for this, what has happened is that they are not able to meet with the organizational compliances, okay? But since business has to grow, they are allowed to work from home. And now what they're trying to do is, they're trying to build the right platform on the cloud, right? They are deploying the VDIs. Once the VDI deployments are done, then what they're doing is they're doing the assessment onto their compliances, right? So in case if the people are working from home, what are the security measures they need to take? How to ensure that the data which they're accessing compliance with as per the organization operating procedures and as per the regulator compliances, right? So mostly what people are doing is deploying the VDI and ensuring the right security parameters are being set onto it. And obviously they are adopting cloud and planning for a true cloud native deployments. So let's say you have got legacy applications, you need to migrate onto the cloud native so that in case in future, if some such thing happens, right, you are not impacted. Basically, your business can still run from anywhere, kind of things, right? So you have to adopt the cloud by VDI, cloud natives, many other ways.
Lovely. Thank you, Ravi. Thank you so much. And same question to you, Dennis. You did ask in the poll earlier about third-party data center. Any comment with the pandemic and the data center industry and the roles played?
Well, definitely. It comes again on, enterprises being agile, having a network that they can easily scale into the cloud as well, having workloads in the cloud that is easy accessible by remote workers. And we have seen that, one enterprise was more ready than others, really. If you're stuck with a very traditional way of running your network and, the application landscape, is a traditional one, it's very difficult to move into, all the challenges that we have today with what COVID brings to us, So the whole IT landscape is changing and people start thinking about, okay, how can I build my environment in such a way that I can be agile and that I can easily scale and that I can do on-demand provisioning. So again, it's part of the network discussion, but also a discussion about, how am I going to use cloud? How am I going to leverage it? And how am I going to stay within the security parameters that my enterprise has kind of dictated on? So it's all about scalability and flexibility, if you ask me. That is the key topics that we see with enterprises moving towards an easy to consume type of services.
Excellent. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Ravi, for being our subject matter experts today and taking the questions. And a big thank you to our attendees. We know you're busy. Thank you for taking the time. We're coming to the end of the webinar. Please keep the engagement going. Reach out to Equinix and Cloud4C. You can see our website here. And please stay safe. and all the best with your digital transformation and all things cloud. Thank you and bye-bye.